want to show you a couple of tricks and things you can do with a spring caliper. This is what I refer to as a spring caliper. First of all, take this over to your sander, grinder, whatever, and smooth. They come with real sharp points on them. Smooth them off so that it won't scratch your work. It just takes a few minutes, but it'll save you some sanding problems when you scratch it. First thing we're going to do is to show how to check the wall thickness of a bowl without scratching it. Let's assume you've got your outside of your bowl nicer and pretty and it's all sanded, ready to be finished, so you don't want to scratch it. Starting off with, we're going to take our scale and we're going to set this to a nominal size. It depends how thick your wall is. I set this for 1 inch. That's just something easy to remember. So we stick this over it and we're rubbing on the inside because our outside is finished. It's been sanded real pretty, so we don't want to scratch it. So now just observe what the distance is between the outside caliper, the finger of it, and the wall, and just simply slide it along, and you can see how consistent or inconsistent it is. We're down here at less than 1/4, and out here we're way over 1/2. It's a very simple way to check things, and it makes it so you don't scratch the outside of your surface. There's another good useful purpose for this. When you're turning something on a spindle and you want to check the diameter, you've got your parting tool going in, take and simply set this to the diameter that you want, and I'd go just a little bit oversized. That way you can always go back with your dial caliper or digital caliper and fine tune it. But you can slip this down over the work and turning and using your parting tool at the same time. Make sure that this here is pointing away from you, because if it should catch, this here would make a nice hole in your chest, but this here won't. It'll throw it a different direction. See, we're going down through a piece of wood, and we've got a parting tool, and we're trying to cut to a particular diameter. If you're trying to make beads, coves, or whatever you're trying to do with your parting tool. Continuing on, I have some ideas and tips and tricks just of a general nature that may not necessarily for wood turning, but it could be applied to wood turning. First of all, I've been making my own thinned polyurethane. I've been using some just regular Home Depot, Lowe's type polyurethane. I get it in gloss. I like gloss. Some people like semi-gloss, whichever one you use. Take this, pour it into a larger container. You got 2 pints. Add 1 pint of odorless mineral spirits to it. Stir it up good. Put it back in this can, and then I just take the mineral spirits and dump it into my other jug and pour what I've got left into my mineral spirits jug. But label it so that later on you know that this is what this is, because you know we all forget things as things progress in time. Okay, the next thing, if you want to locate a piece of wood with a faceplate, we've marked it, got a dimple on it. This is called a center finder. It has a point on the shaft, but it could be made very easily out of a piece of wood and a piece of 1/4 inch rod. This part here fits down in the center of the faceplate. You stick this pointed rod down in here, find your dimple that you had in there before, and now you've located this in the exact center of your piece. It works very, very well. But this could be very easily made out of a piece of hardwood and just a piece of 1/4 inch rod that you've sharpened on your grinder. Sometimes you want to know exactly where the bottom of a piece of a hollow vessel is, or a bowl, or whatever you're turning. Make you a simple little depth gauge. This is nothing more than a piece of 1/4 inch dowel and a scrap piece of wood with a bolt on it to hold it in place. You stick it in your piece, lock it down, on the outside. Now you know about where the bottom is. It maybe will keep you from making a funnel. You can make a very thin parting tool from a butcher knife. This was a butcher knife once upon a time. I took into the grinder and sander and I flattened this edge here. This is going to set on the tool rest. And I put my grind on the end. It's not the best steel in the world, but it'll work very, very well, and it is very thin. And sometimes you're trying to save wood if you're trying to make a lidded box or something where you want the grain to line up the best possible. If you make it with a thinner parting tool, you have a better chance of your grain lining up. You've got a real pretty piece of wood, and all of a sudden it's got a little hairline crack in it. You want to seal it up with some thin CA glue. But you're almost got the piece finished. Okay, what you should do is go get you some bullseye shellac, spray that where the crack is at, let it dry. Now put your thin CA glue in the crack, and your piece will not be stained. If you put the CA glue right onto the raw wood, you're going to have a mark. Sometimes it's very difficult to get sanded out. You've got two pieces of material, wood, that you want to glue together, temporarily or permanent. Take and get some accelerator for the CA glue, spray it onto the one piece, take your medium CA glue, put it on the other piece, and simply put it together. It's almost like putting pieces together with contact cement. You better have it pretty close to where you want it, because you're not going to get another chance to move it, and it works very, very well. I've been waxing my steels and cast iron tops with this microcrystalline wax, and it seems to work very, very well. It's a little more expensive than Johnson's paste wax, but it dries very quickly, and it seems to make a very protective film. And I've heard Johnson's paste wax, especially on like a table saw, and they're sawing wood, and they don't get they get wax onto the wood, and when you try to finish it, it really messes up your finish. I don't think this will do that. It's a little more expensive, but it seems to work very, very well. How often you should do it depends on how humid your shop is. If you're in a garage that has no heating and air conditioning, you probably need to do it, they say, once a month. But if you're in a situation where your shop is heated and air conditioning in the summertime and humidity stays down, I do mine every 2 or 3 months or whenever I think about it. But it really works quite well. Another thing I have found, this is a product called Flowgenics. It's primarily designed to wax your vehicles with. However, I have found it really works well to put on your face shield. I did this some time ago, and it was really kind of worn and scratched and not looking good, and I cleaned it up and sprayed this on and wiped it on. What you do is you use a microfiber towel. I wet this, clean it, wipe it on there with a good film, let it dry just a little bit, and then take another microfiber and wipe it off. And it seems as though the dust don't stick to it quite so bad. Anything that's made out of plastic has a habit of, it's almost like a static electricity gets to it, and it really clings, and this seems to eliminate it. It is a ceramic finish, and I've put it on my cars and trucks and motorhomes, and it really applies very, very well. It's a little expensive to buy, and the only place I know you can buy it is from Flowgenics, but it's a very good product. Okay, another idea that may save you some problems. If you let your cast iron or steel get rusty for whatever reason, things happen like that, humidity, somebody sets a glass down or a can that's got a lot of sweat on it and it'll cause a rust ring. A simple way to get rid of that is take you some Scotch-Brite, either the gray or the maroon, whichever you've got, set it on top, set your orbital sander on top of it, spray this with some WD-40, and just work the rust out. It's amazing how quickly the WD-40 and the Scotch-Brite will brighten it back up. When you're done, wipe it down good and protect it with some wax or something to keep it from corroding again. Simple thing to do, makes your tools look much nicer and easier to use, especially on your lathe lathes. If they should get rusty, that makes your tailstock not run well or your banjo not to slide as good. So you want to have a nice smooth surface for it to work with. Keep it clean, keep it waxed. Here is another product that you can use to protect your cast iron called Slip It. and it does work very well. After you've got it cleaned up, just rub you a nice coat on there and buff it off. You don't want to leave it much too residue on it, but it does work very well along with different kinds of waxes. And done.